Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today and welcome to the 79th session of Majlis Al Khonji. Please allow me to introduce our guests for this session. Dr. Ali Al-Raisi, the owner and founder of Al-Raisi Karate and Kickboxing Club. Ali finished his PhD in pure mathematics from the University of Rochester. He is the representative of Jamaat Shutu Karate Federation in Oman, and he is a team member of the Omani national karate team. Coach Ali is trainer of numerous national and international champions. And we have also Coach Ivana Hadzic, personal fitness trainer and nutritionist. Ivana finished her master's degree in biology and environmental protection, and she is an international certified personal fitness trainer and sport nutritionist. She is experienced in adult sport training and nutrition with years of fitness background. And currently she's working as a fitness and kickboxing trainer for groups and individuals at Ali Al-Raisi Karate and Kickboxing Club. Welcome Coach Ali and Ivana to Majlis Al Khonji, and we look forward for the talk. Over to you, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Reham. Thank you, Reham. Good evening, everybody. I would like to thank Majlis Al Khonji for giving us this opportunity to share some of the ideas that hopefully will be beneficial to you tonight. And you could take some of these ideas and implement them in your life and see some positive effects. Thank you also, Reham, our moderator for tonight. So I was asked to share something that would be beneficial to the society in general. So I'll give you a little bit of a background on myself. I spent most of the last 20 years of my life involved in education in some way or another, either as a student at the university or teaching where I was doing my graduate school in the United States. And then when I came back here, I was waiting to get appointed as a professor of mathematics at the Sultan Qaboos University. And meanwhile, I decided to open a karate club. And through that, I had interaction with numerous people of different age levels. And then we started with a karate club, and then we went to a fitness club. And from there, we expanded from one studio to 2 studios and so on. So at the beginning, when I was asked to do this talk, I was thinking, what are the main points that I'm going to share? The main benefits that adults or kids can reap from joining any physical activity or karate specifically, or any other martial arts. So there are basically 3 main dimensions that you can benefit from. And just because kids are much younger, their brains are developing, their bodies are developing, these effects are much more ingrained when you start at an early age, okay? So there are of course other areas, but the main benefits you can see either in the physical dimension, a mental dimension, or the character of the participant themselves, okay? So let's start physically, As you know now, because of the weather maybe, and the way society is, especially here in Oman, and as we live here, many people are facing many health issues that are due to the lack of maybe exercise, lack of movement, high stress levels, and all that. And now we can see, even me in my gym, I can see kids coming at younger ages who suffer from obesity. They have very high levels of anxiety and other related problems. They are very bad with certain motor skills. I've seen kids that are not even good when you ask a kid to run, for example, they cannot do that, This is just from a lot of sitting down and basically a lack of physical activity, especially nowadays with availability of electronic gadgets and video games, and more so now than in the last year, due to the pandemic. So as you can guess, when a kid does karate, a lot of these problems are resolved slowly with time. The more active you are, you lessen the effects of these things over a long period of time. Of course, and when an adult does this, he also gets benefits. But the great thing about starting with a kid is this gets ingrained in the lifestyle of a kid, right? So if I have somebody who's coming to me at an age, let's say at age 30, and somebody who's coming at age 10, it is usually much, much easier for the kid to do it, right? Because he's gone in the unhealthy phase, maybe just for let's say 5-6 years. But an adult, he has lived throughout his childhood, his teen years, his early adulthood. So it is much better to start at a young age. For example, I can see this, and a lot of my friends around me, they suffer maybe from obesity or blood pressure or diabetes, or, and they're always trying to, fix the problem, remedies the problem after they start. Yet I always tell them, the way you are living, the way your kid is living right now, trust me, this is the same future. If nothing changes, your kid is going to face the same future. So the best thing to tackle these problems at an early age, and one of the best way to do it is through exercise, organized sports, not only organized sport, but team sports also with a professional coach. This has many benefits, as I don't, needless to say, you can see, movement, how it affects your mood and your physical health and fitness and all that. So this is the first dimension, the physical dimension of things. Now let's go to the mental dimension. As I mentioned earlier, I've been involved in education for a long period for a major, like would say, more than half of my life. I've been involved in some way or another in education, whether at the university or coaching sports or involved myself in sports. And as you're all aware, the brain has this thing that's called brain plasticity, right? And that means the brain is not constant, it's always evolving and it's changing. And it is more so when the kid is young. So the more you expose a kid to something, for example, if you're working on certain problems for a long time in any area, after a certain time, your brain becomes accustomed to solving certain problems in this area, and you start developing roots in your brain, circuits, firing certain circuits that deal with that problem. Now, similarly, if you're just sitting down and reading books all day, it's going to develop your brain only a certain way. Now, we know from a lot of scientific evidence that brain also grows from being engaged in play, in sports, in a different way that cannot be mimicked just by sitting down and reading. So many times, for example, parents will say, I would love my kid to do this, but there's a lot of school pressure. They cannot afford to do this because school pressure is a lot. They have to do a lot of this and a lot of that, so we don't have time. But over the long run, I found that to be very, that's counterproductive, because again, you're developing only one aspect of the brain, right? And many other aspects cannot be developed just by reading and studying. They have to be developed by movement, by play. And all these elements, again, are found in sports, okay? So now we spoke a little bit about the physical dimension and the mental and the brain and the dimension of the mental dimension, okay? These are two that are always addressed. The thing I want to stress about more is the character, right? The character of the child that's involved in sports. In any sports, yet more maybe in martial arts, right? So whenever you're taught a lesson as a child by your father, right? For example, you have to listen to certain rules, if certain rules are given, you break the rules, probably not a good thing, listening to authority, being coachable, overcoming failure. Maybe as kids, we always hear these things, but they're very, very hard to, for us to understand what they really mean, because we don't have perspective, on what it means to really fail, or to be really afraid of something. Kids who are involved in sports, whether it's combat sports, martial arts, or any other sport, they always have to deal with these kind of things, right? Maybe not at the same scale, but at a smaller scale, right? So, for example, one of the most important things that helps a character of somebody practicing any sort of sports, it helps me. I had some really great coaches throughout my life, and one of the greatest things I learned is the correlation or the association between hard work and results. I have to say, I never understood this relation well until I start playing sports at high level. I understood if I want to produce something, I have to work for it. And this association on its own, it's very valuable, right? For a kid to understand, you want something, you got to work for it, right? And sport is a very honest way of doing this, right? You cannot really fake it. Maybe other parts of life, you're going to be cute, and you're going to get from your parents what you want. But if you're competing, you're trying to achieve something, whether it's your next belt, win the next tournament, or overcome your fear, or anything, you have to work hard, right? And then when you will see, as you work hard, you're going to get better. And this also promotes the growth mindset, right? which is shown by many psychologists. This is one of the most important thing that gives success, to have a growth mindset, meaning you understand that if you work on something, your mind is not static. It is more a dynamic thing. The more you work on it, the more you progress. So kids are able to make all these associations. They understand the meaning of hierarchy. They are coachable. They become more disciplined. They understand the value of hard work. Again, it promotes growth mindset. So I feel that character development is the most important, because if you have the right character, then all the other things could be resolved through that. When I started teaching, like I said, I started teaching karate. At the beginning, I was involved a lot. I'm involved a lot with a lot of semi-professional or kids who are going to be professional athletes in the future. So my goal at the beginning was all about tournaments, medals, trophies, titles, and so on, right? But as I started teaching, I realized that more important than all of this is really winning in the hardest competition or sport, right? Life. We want to make champions in life, because if you develop the right human being at an early age, you develop the right future, you develop the right society. So you start from this basic cell of one human being. This person understand they're capable, they're empowered, your future in your hand, you want to change your situation, you work on it. This changes your mindset, right? You become a very effective member of society this way. So you build a good human being, I believe, through involvement with sports. You build a strong human being, hence you build a strong, family, strong society, strong country, better world, where people are really focused on themselves. They are not seeing what is wrong with the situation. No, I want to improve, I work on myself, right? You overcome failures, you deal with them, you overcome your fears, and you deal with them at an early age. This really prepares you for your future endeavors. Coach Ivana is going to help me maybe at this point also. So now, as the pandemic started, a lot of these problems that I mentioned at the beginning are amplified and magnified, right? For example, kids are spending a lot more hours in front of the computer, just sitting down, which is very unhealthy to do, for your back, for your body at an early age. It is very stressful. These gadgets, whether it's your computer or your phone, are designed to super stimulate the brain. This is how they make money, right? By super stimulation of the brain. They want you to get engaged in them. Now, when you are trying to focus by just reading a book or a conversation, you don't get the same stimulation, right? And we as adults, we are so attached to our gadgets. So let alone a kid who is 7 or 8 or 10 years old, I mean, we are as adults are completely engaged in this thing, and we cannot we are almost becoming enslaved to this thing, right? So let alone a kid whose brain is developing. So physical activity is more important now than ever, really, not just for the physical benefits, of course, for physical benefits, for movement, for mental also benefits. It engages your brain in a different way, and also for character development, right? So we started after the pandemic started, after the shutdown, after the first 2 months, we started giving online classes. And I'm very, very happy to report, really, the results were beyond my expectations. We've had many of the kids in the program were already doing karate in the club or fitness. And we had a big number of kids who joined after actually the pandemic started, because during the pandemic, before the pandemic started, they were maybe busy and they were engaged in many sports that they couldn't do at that time, whether it's football or swimming. But after the pandemic started and everything had to be shut down, they were confined to their houses, they start karate classes online. And I have to say that I was completely blown, because some of the kids have made some tremendous improvement. The way I know this, because there is a period, we just shut down, I guess a few weeks ago. There is a period where some of these kids who started online came to the club, and I saw them and I was completely impressed by the progress they have made throughout this time. So my advice, or my last word to give, I guess, to people, to tell people here, and I always try to tell to parents, my own brothers and sisters, my own cousins, in my family first, and my friends also, and everybody around me. Please, guys, try to invest. Everybody invest in the well-being of your kid. This is going to save a lot of effort later. Once the kid has exercise as a part of his lifestyle, it's going to save him a lot of time and work and effort later. Things are much easier to fix at the beginning. If you wait till later, it's just hard because you have to develop the habit, you have to, overcome the resistance, not just the inner habit, right? The environment around you is usually not, it's set a certain way for you to change it. So please, it's all about priorities. And like I really believe, sport is no less important than school, if it's not more important. School develops your brain, sports develop both your brain and your body and your character, So it's really all encompassing. I can tell you from my own experience, I don't think I would have finished my PhD. It was a very stressful process doing my PhD. And I did not feel as stressed because I always had the sports outlet. I was always exercising, always. I remember even the day I was giving my final thesis defense, I was in the gym sparring, with my friends, and it just became a part of my life. So I really encourage everybody to invest in themselves and really in your kids. This will pay dividends as they grow up. I've seen countless examples and ideas. And unfortunately, I've seen countless examples on the other way also, where somebody quits and then years later they come back and they say, we wish we didn't, or they take their kids out because the coach was hard on them or because they were too busy. And the kid now is really out of shape, or, he's very stressed. Or so it is better to tackle things at the beginning, and they're much easier. And I hope this was useful to you in some way, whatever I had to share, and I'll be more open to question at the end of the session. Thank you very much. Thank you. And I'm not sure if Riham will take it from here or Ivana goes after me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali. Ivana, if you'd like to come in, then we leave the questions to the end of the session, so we have the combination of both talks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Riham. Good evening, everybody. And it's really a pleasure and honor to be here tonight with all of you. So as Ali gave the very nice introduction and the basis of the talk that I'm gonna proceed, I think we are all here. Is all fine because I don't have this. Okay, thank you. What I actually want to stress out more is how we find ourselves in the pandemic change, and how this whole situation with the COVID virus affect our life, and how actually everything became new normal, and how we actually need to adapt ourselves to new things and embrace the changes to improve our life, specifically in the sports and nutrition, in a way to optimize and achieve optimal and better health. Talking about kids, we are, as a parents, I myself am a parent of 3 kids, and we actually are a role model to them. So our kids will always look to us. So definitely we need to give them a good example. So whatever we do, our children copy us. So that's very good, very important for all of us to be a good role models for our kids. So we caught ourselves in this pandemic from the March last year, and after the all major shock that we let's say survive in a way, we start to look certain things from the positive side and try to figure out how we actually can improve our life. And we start to search what is the food that we need to eat to boost our immune system, to fight the virus, how we need to behave during the day, how we need to optimize our health, what to eat, what to do, how to train, when. With all homeschooling and our work from home, everything becomes very, very different from the life that we have before March 2020. Lifestyle changes actually brought us to the new things that we find out as a way that we need to improve, and how we need to look on our healthy lifestyle. and how we need to improve this. So one of the things as a booster of the immune system is regular exercise, which follows with the proper nutrition. Usually, I'm always saying that the percentage is 80% are nutrition and 20% is exercise, and always comes one with another. There is no that one will go with another, but another factors are involved in, and as well as a healthy life to achieve the healthy lifestyle. We became, let's say, bind to the chairs and the tables, and our children are from homeschooling. They are sitting a lot, and us as adults also, we are working from home. We sit a lot more than we will do as we are working in our offices. We are walking more, but also the office type of job that is actually restrict your movement is something that we need to stress out with or without the pandemic. From my experience working in a club for a couple of years, I have clients who actually came with restricted movements and restricted mobility just due to this type of job. As I give few exercises to assess their level of mobility and fitness, let's say fitness level. My next question is are you doing the office type of job? So you start recognizing the people who are not able to do the deep squat position, that they are mostly sitting, and their tendons and the muscles became shortened and not stretched, and they get a different type of mobility due to the long sitting hours. As Ali said, that also applies for kids, and there is no greater importance than involve kids and the adults as well into the sport, into the movement above all. Before I start with the nutrition, I want to say a little bit more of the exercises. And there is one great exercise that all age and all fitness level can do, which gave great results and also improve works a lot on the health in general. That's walk. So simple brisk walk can give a lot of benefits to our health. So first of all, you also probably caught yourself getting out of the house from after stressed work, and you go by yourself or with someone in a company, and you walk for, let's say, half an hour or hour. And when you came back home, what is that feeling that you experienced? So you're suddenly relieved, you feel good, all the stress is out, your head is clear, and you think better, you can sleep better. And also, if you're going back to certain studies or work, you can do that with better focus. So I would stress out importance of walk, and I'm very happy because lately I've seen a lot of pedestrians areas where the people can walk here in Muscat and enjoy, especially in the beaches and next to the beach and the area which is in the grass. But since now we are in the lockdown and facing the second one, what is that other thing that we can do apart from going and walking when it's possible? Those are the stretches. So easy light stretches that we can do after finishing our day. Find yourself on the floor with your kids or by yourself and do some basic stretches that your body needs. Just move how your body feel like to, that actually you feel relieved, and certain movements that you are not doing during the day will actually benefit to your body and to your health. After sitting long hours, find yourself walking in the house, helping around, preparing the food or other things that you can do. Find yourself walking. Don't sit and being in front of the TV. We all tend to go, we are getting tired, and the easiest way is to lay back, watch TV and relax. But we will improve our health much, much better if we just involve ourselves in some walk. We all have stairs in the house, in these big houses here in Muscat. So great exercise, going to the stairs, moving around, that will actually, it's a great and simple that we can do. One thing that also is very important in this heavy times that we are actually facing now is to be motivated and to push ourselves to do something, to have self-control, either in the exercise or in the nutrition as well. And one of the things that will actually help us is to visualize what we want. Let's visualize ourselves how we want to be. If we are suffering, it was recently I heard the very stressful news that here in Muscat, more than 50% of people suffer from obesity, around 30% from diabetes, also a great percentage, around 15%. There are a few doctors who will maybe correct me or support me, with 15% of cardiovascular diseases, which is very, very, very high percentage. And we need to tackle this problem in society. Cardiovascular abilities can be improved with an exercise, with the movement, and also with the nutrition as well, which is going to be soon in a few seconds my next topic. Apart from these things, how we actually can find ourselves in that motivation, and what will drive us to do certain things, what we can improve and how we can improve. As I say, that we are role models to our kids, and we also want the best for our kids. So we will be the one who will initiate certain exercise. And the best things, as Ali said, is to do in early childhood and set that as a habit, as a routine, having a certain part of the day where you're going to involve yourselves in the play with the children, with the movement, do something. So just move, it's better than anything. Going for a walk whenever it's possible. When not, do certain things in the houses, which we can do, and improve our health, better than the sitting in front of the games or watching the TV and being stagnant. As I say, the routines are very, very important, setting them as well in the nutrition. And as I say, for me, always nutrition is 80%, whether it comes to the achieving the great sports result or to the weight loss. And what we actually can help and can do is to understand how the nutrition functions. So I will briefly walk you through one presentation. So let me share my screen with you. And certain things are very general, but there are certain things that we are not taught in school, and how nutrition science evolved throughout the years, and modern society changed from 40 years back. And now nutrition is quite different than before in the way how we eat, and there is no one size fits all. Everybody are individual, and we should all experiment with ourselves, what to eat, how we actually feel, listen our body, and to in a way to improve our health. So let me just okay. So as I said, nutrition is a great part of healthy lifestyle, and that's the process which providing and obtaining the food necessary for health and growth. A food is the nutrition substance, whether it comes from the plants or animals or a fungi that we drink, eat, and is being absorbed through digestion in our body. We are all known that we have macronutrients and micronutrients. We heard that talk a lot. So 3 major macronutrients are carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. And the micronutrients are minerals and vitamins, which we can find in the veggies and the fruit. Okay, sorry. Okay. So the carbohydrates, there are few things about carbohydrates, and lately we've been talking about and listening a lot whether we eat carbohydrates, how much carbohydrates we need to eat, what are the good and the bad carbohydrates. So there are few food pyramids that we remember from our childhood and in the textbooks that we learn. And there was always on the down part, which I'm going to show one later just for kids. On the down part, there was always these bread and grains in the lower part, which represents that we need to eat them a lot. So what we actually can do here is that certain things apply for kids. So nutrition, one type of the nutrition applies for kids, and other type of nutrition applies for the adults, especially after 40. For the carbohydrates, we divide them in three groups. There are simple carbohydrates, which are glucose and fructose. We can find in the fruit, honey, and the milk. Complex carbohydrates, the starchy one, which are actually the good one. We should have them in the good amounts, which is going to actually give us prolonged reserves of energy. And the fibrous one, which are fruits and veggies. So the first one, simple, we should keep them in a very, very small amounts. For the proteins, okay, just one remark. There is also one thing that we need to remember, that there is a rule of a hand how much we need to eat. And I will explain that. There is one slide after. So on these carbohydrates, for the starchy ones, it's gonna be 1 handful for the women and 2 for men. So for the female 1 and for the men 2. That is your measure for 1 meal. For the veggies, we should have 1 fist size, and for the men 2 fist size of the veggies to maintain the weight. So later on I will talk something about weight loss. Proteins will be our palm size. So how much can fit in our palm? That is actually the measure of how much protein we should eat, for single for women, double for men. We know that we have plant-based and animal-based proteins, peas, lentils, so all the legumes, some type of veggies consist a great amount of proteins as well, and animals as a red meat, chicken, fish, milk, and eggs. For the fats, if we are talking about healthy fats, so we are not talking about those fats which comes from the packet. So we have saturated, monosaturated, and polyunsaturated fatty acids. So we should keep ourselves in the first two to be on the healthy side. So this coconut oil and whole milk. Some of the meat consists also the saturated fat, olive oil, olives, almonds. Those are the fatty acids which are actually required in our nutrition more than anything else. And we also heard about omega-369. So all these fats, depends on the type of the source, are consisted in this food. So as I said, so this is one very important thing. So we face ourselves when we go to the restaurants that we have big plates and we tend to eat all over the plate because we don't want to waste the food, and certain things that they didn't teach us in school, how much we should eat actually. So how much of the food we should put on our plate. So as we are now at home more than before, and we are actually can control our portions, and we should always as well. As I said, so as it says here, your protein size will be 1 palm. Your fist size will be vegetables and fruits. 1 cubed hand are starchy carbohydrates, and 1 thumb size will be fats. To maintain the weight, so single for women, double for men. To maintain the weight, if we want to lose weight, we need to take out starchy carbohydrates and or fats from certain meals, not from all. That also leads us to the topic that we actually can time our meals. It's always good to eat at the same time as well. and to know what we're going to have in different time. Depends on the sports activity. If we have some sports activity, we'll use some starchy carbohydrates because that will gonna give us some energy, fats as well. We will not eat fats in the evening. We will also fuel with the carbohydrates for the next day. So there are different things of the nutrition, and it's a big topic, so I will try to be short as much as possible. We also know that we need to eat for our body type. We also heard about that, but keep this in mind that our hands are actually our measure how much we can eat. That is the best thing that you can have. So depends on the body type. You can either have you can be more on the carb side to eat more carbs, less fat and protein, or vice versa. This is something that I need to stress out. So as parents, we are very, very responsible for the nutrition of our kids. So what we give to our kids, that is how their healthy will be. That is how fit they will be. That is going to improve their performance if they go to sports, develop their brain, building blocks for their body. So for the kids, since they are in the age that they need building blocks, they are growing, and they are actually need quality food. There is no words to explain how much I want to stress out that we should stay away from the food from the packet, which means sweets and saturated fats. So cookies, chocolate, easy prepared meals, ready meals, which are full of salt, something which is full of sugar, and something which actually doesn't give any nutritional value. In nutrition, we say nutrient dense food. That is the whole food, fresh food. For the packed food, we usually say it's dead food, which comes from the packet, from the container. That food should be on the top of this pyramid. Very rarely, occasionally. Of course, chocolate is healthy, just in moderate ways, and to know when to give chocolate to the kid. Fruits and veggies, that is the first thing and foremost. A lot of different type of grains, meats and eggs, milk, cheese, something which is actually going to give them proteins, carbohydrates, and that healthy fats that we were talking about before. As I said, source of energy depends on the type of the exercise that we are doing. If we are running, if we are jumping, if we are doing some cardio exercise, the source which we are going to use are going to be carbohydrates. So our glucose in the blood first, and then later on, when we run out of this source, we'll tap into our fat stores. When we go for that walk, after, let's say, 20 minutes, our body will start to use fatty stores, so our fat stores. So that is no greater and better exercise for the weight loss than a fast, brisk walk for 1 hour. Kids' diet, as I said, versus adults' diet, very, very vary. So let me just reverse. So this second layer that we have here, I will reverse. So for us, we'll say that we should have more veggies and fruits on the down part, and grains on the upper, especially for the after 40 years as me. Hydration is also very important. We live in the hot climate. Drinking enough water improves sleep, relieve our stress. We sleep better, increased energy. Also, very matters for the muscle function. Regulates electrolytes in the blood, detoxify, cleanse, and promotes also the weight loss. There is a rule that we actually should drink, let's say, our weight in pounds divided in half, so that much ounces of water. So we can have a calculator and transfer how much ounces will be into the liters. So around, let's say, depends what is your weight, not less than 2 liters, just water. We have soups, we have some fruit juices or something like that during the day, which also considers as a liquid, but just pure water should not be less than 2 liters. Regarding the weight loss, especially, we were being very stressed in this pandemic situation. We need to have a mindset for the weight loss, and everything starts from here, whether you're going to start to do sports or you're going to change your nutrition. So we need to actually improve ourselves from our head. Those are those routines. So start building slowly. If you are now thinking, okay, let me start from tomorrow something, make a plan, have a diary, take few steps. So visualize your goal, what you want to achieve, and give yourself enough time and chop that goal on small steps, how you're going to achieve. So write down what is the small step, what is that? Ask yourself every day, what is that I can do today to improve my health better than I did yesterday? So we always need to think to improve ourselves, whether that becomes to the sports and nutrition or any other aspect of our life. There is one quick tip that I want to share with you, and most of you probably know this. I don't know, do you see the third one here, third label on your screen? So when you go to the shop, some of us, especially me, I'm obsessed to turn around the packet and see what's there. So when we see, so sometimes we just see and we don't actually understand what are these labels. When it says carbohydrates, which means naturally occurred carbohydrates in this food, but when it says sugars, so let's say total sugars, so those are those simple sugars which occur in this food. The higher it is, so which means the more simple sugar it has, the less it is, it has more starchy quality carbohydrates. We should stay away from the food after this carbohydrate. Then it says total sugars. The last one, it says added sugars. That's big no for having that kind of food. So usually we should also be aware of the serving size. So these numbers which are given on the side, it actually shows how much sugar we have in the serving size, not in the whole packet. So if it says 10 grams, which is, let's say, 1 spoon, doesn't mean in the whole packet. It means maybe in 30 grams or something like that. So be aware of this when you go next time to the shop. Turn around the packet, and the less sugars it has more starchy quality carbohydrates, which makes our insulin levels more stable, doesn't spike, doesn't bring us to the insulin resistance, which we talk a lot about this lately. So this is one very good tip. I assume you already know. So I hope I was not too long, and thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you very much, Ivana. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ali. We will take some questions from our guests now. Dr. Ramin, please go ahead.
First of all, let me bring my hand down. First of all, Dr. Ali and Ivana, thank you so much for a very informative and very focused presentation. We think we know these things as part of our routine life, but when somebody sort of explains it, we realize how little we know or how little conscious we are. I think COVID was brought a certain work-life balance to us. I think before COVID, we were more occupied with offices, and what I notice in the area is that we see more cyclists on 18th of November Street. We see more people walking in the neighborhood. So I think somehow maybe it's the lockdown or other reasons. but people have started to walk as families, as couples. And I think certain steps, now my suggestion is, there's certain steps that have been taken by the government, by the municipality. We see a pathway, a very long stretch of pathway in places like Amrat. We see these equipments in our parks. We see it in Shat al-Qaram. We see it in the Udayba beach recently. And we see these spongy, I'm not sure what you call it, but the pathway that's for walking, it's a little spongy. It's around the PDO area. And I think these are excellent, but as a society, to encourage a society to become healthy, I don't think youth should have, should be forced to go to a roundabout or a green area that's really made not for sports, and they're playing sports there because they have no other place. So I think somehow you as professionals, you can sort of guide or help or assist the municipality, Ministry of Sports, or other organizations to actually make Muscat and other cities more health conscious through having more of these things around the city. We're working towards smart cities in technology. I think health conscious cities would also be a very good thing that would encourage society. Pedestrian areas for walking is the simplest one, which we don't have. We have to walk half on the street, half on the pavement that gets cut. I just wanted to say that. And I must say, very impressive, pure mathematics, and you're focusing on nutrition and environmentalist or environmental something, and you're focusing on these things. So very, very impressive. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Rahman. You are actually very, very right. Raising awareness is the first thing that we need to do. And you are completely right about this. I'm here in Muscat 6.5 years, and I can say that first time when I arrived, I find myself in problem finding the areas where I can walk. So for me, that was really completely different. So my country, Serbia, is quite green and a lot of areas to walk, and I was faced with a problem where to walk, how to find myself, and even the gyms were quite rare. And I'm extremely happy where now, as you say, the people seeing sports as a way of their lifestyle and incorporate that in their routines, and in drawing kids more in this activity. And that is actually a quite long journey that we need all to take. And thank you very much.
Ali, would you like to add any comment on Dr.?
I agree, not 100%, 1,000% with everything he said. I also serve as a committee member of the Karate Committee under the Ministry of Sports, and we've been contacted by other ministries, for some sports program. My club, like Dar Ra'ayat al-Tufula, we used to do a program for them, but definitely, the Ministry of Sports or municipality, we should have more cooperation. Maybe we should start, with giving them a proposal, and we go from there, because I guess they're waiting for us, we're waiting for them. Nobody's going to do anything. But this actually might be a good point, doctor, that you raised. Maybe we should take the initiative. They have already a lot on their hands, right? If we wait for them, it might not happen. But I was just, thinking when you mentioned about the pedestrian. We need really sidewalks, right? It is very risky almost, to go walk sometimes. You're really half in the street and half in the, I mean, it is, we need more appropriate places for exercise. And we don't, like you said, the environment has to be more friendly. You don't need to go X amount of miles just to go to a place where you can exercise. You should be able to do it right outside your house on any street walk. That's true, because, a good environment will enhance good habits, right? And again, if you get up every day and you have a bunch of chocolate on your desk, you're not going to be eating healthy. But if you have, so it's the same thing, right? That's a very good point. That's a very good point. Yes, I agree with everything you said, doctor. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Amin. We'll listen now to Lotus.
Hi, thank you both so much, Dr. Ali and Coach Ivana. I think it's a very timely topic when you look at the statistics on non-communicable diseases in the Sultanate. It's quite frightening. I think it's something, as you mentioned, something like 80% of deaths are due to non-communicable diseases, and it's exactly what prevents it is healthy eating and exercise. And it's with the pandemic the right time. So thank you so much. I have a question for Dr. Ali, and it's on, when you see martial arts, you often think of it as something that's very violent and competitive. But from what very little I know about karate and some other martial arts, there's actually a sense of a very encouraging and supportive community built around the sport. So, you also mentioned social anxiety that some of the kids come in with. So I was wondering if you have any examples of that sense of community that was built through the sport, because the participants are working towards a sort of common goal, and that sense of community and a community that supports certain values, like you mentioned, like honesty, is really critical at that age. So I'm just wondering if you have any specific examples of how you've seen this community build and how that's helped these issues like social anxiety.
Yes, so this is a very, very good question, actually, an excellent question. So there is a very old story, right? A student goes to his sensei. Sensei is a word for teacher in Japanese, and he asks him, he's like, "Sensei, you're almost always promoting peace, yet you're always teaching us how to punch and kick." So the sensei goes back and he says, it's better. What does he say? It's better to be a warrior in a farm than a farmer in a time of war, right? So it's bad. But, so it is true, we're always maybe teaching punching and kicking, but there are a few things if you consider in a martial art, in any sort of sports, but especially martial arts, right? So as you start, for example, if you start, performing your form or you're fighting, another person, at the beginning, it is very difficult. Just me, I'm not used to giving presentation, except for the lectures I'm giving online to my students now at the university. I'm not a very good speaker. So, there's an element of fear to this, right? So imagine as a kid who's 7 years old or 8 years old, you're standing in a room full of, 400 people to 1,000 people sometimes. Ivana's kids do karate. Coach Ivana's kids do karate with me since they were kids. And you have to perform. It's very nerve-wracking experience, right? And you're really facing your fears and you're exposing yourself. So by always exposing yourself to such stress and knowing how to deal with it, I guess this not kills, but this really reduces the anxiety by giving you confidence that you know how to face it. Now, the sense of community, one of the points I explained, once you have a good coach, right? Because like everything, whether you're a doctor, an instructor, a coach, there's good and there is, I wouldn't say bad, but not as good, right? But if you really have a good coach who structures the activity around the correct goals, the correct goals, meaning not his own, what he thinks is correct, what is correct for the individual, right? So some people want to come to the club and they want to be like champions, right? Some kids, they just want to do it because, this is the only physical activity you get, right? So once you understand that and you put them in the same group, for example, in my club, we have kids in different groups. We have a competition group who trains every day, little kids. So two of Coach Ivana's kids, for example, they train every day for 3 hours. We have other kids who train twice a week, So the goals are different and we group these kids in similar groups, right? So this kid has a community of other kids with him and a coach who understands this kid is here to do this, he's doing karate recreationally to get some exercise. Now, of the other groups who are doing it more intensely, no, this kid is doing it for a different reason. And just like any habit that you want to develop, even as an adult, all of you are very aware, right? When you have accountability partner, other people to do it with, for example, if you have a gym buddy, there's a much bigger chance that you're going to continue your working out, right? So this sense of community definitely helps because now you're involved with a bunch of people who are very aware of what they are doing, who should be in an ideal situation, supervised by a person who understand. And, many parents, sometimes they come to me, my kids is getting bullied in school, or my kids has a weight issue, or my kids is an introvert, if you can. And you know, I myself as a coach, and the other coaches also really have worked with, we have many professional coaches really in the club, and they all take all these things into account, you know. So a good communication between us and the parent, we're always, you know, an observation of the kid also, we can try to build a good environment, you know, which accelerates us reaching the goal that's desirable for the kid and his parents and the whole community in general. I'm not sure if I answered your question or I just went in a roundabout way, but I'm not sure if there's anything other than that specific that you want me to tell you or you're looking for. Please ask me again, and I will be happy to answer.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's very interesting.
Did you do martial arts yourself?
I don't know. I'm very unknowledgeable about this, but I've tried boxing and I found that
yes. Yes, very
I
good.
think it's all of these things that you're saying. I think I did experience during that sport,
Exactly.
and just the encouragement as well between the participants, and like you're saying, that relationship and accountability with the coach, definitely.
Exactly. And you know, more so for kids than and again, you know, now when we go to schools, there isn't as much interaction. I think when I was a kid, when we were going to school, we were always going, fighting in the backyard, hanging out with the kids after school, walking home. And now I don't think kids have as much physical attraction during school, right? And schools are becoming very stressful. I mean, outside of even the pandemic time. So this really encourages interaction between kids, you know, in a playful way, in a more healthy, playful way, which resembles what things used to be when we were kids, you know. I'm assuming, like, maybe me, you know, maybe I'm older than the rest here, but, you know, so it's bringing us back more to how things should be, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lotus, Dr. Ali. Now we'll listen to Dr. Nada Al-Ajmi. تفضلي Dr. Nada.
Thank you so much for this session. Probably a lot of the audience have that knowledge or probably heard what we have discussed. But I would say tonight's session made us rethink. Maybe Mr. Simon Karam said at the beginning, we're coming here to increase our knowledge and enlighten ourselves in some way. But in reality, we're coming here to support each other. That's how I love this community of Majlis Al Khonji, and I always would like to thank this Majlis, because it's really giving us that support system. Now, why I mentioned support system? Because connecting this concept with what Lotus said about the sense of community, what we experience in this Majlis, for example, is a sense of community. We support each other in learning different things. But when it comes now to health and this important topic that both of you as expertise raised for us, it really reminded me of the importance of support system to go through this journey of health. And being myself in this field of coaching and providing that support system in terms of the mental support system, I would love to hear more about your center's effort in providing that. Now, when I think about it, most of the people either don't know where to start. They all are aware of the importance of this health, but they don't know where to start. And the other group, maybe they were somehow in their life earlier on, they were healthier, more fit, but now either because of the pandemic or, like myself, because of a hand injury, which I have adhesive capsulitis now, and I can't do half of my exercises like before, it demotivates you. So it's like, kind of, why would I do it? And anyway, I'm not going anywhere. So we reduce our exercises. So I was thinking, what can we do to increase this support system? And in that support system, we can address all the topics that the presentations have been brought to our attention. For example, the importance of visualization. You know, this whole visualization thing, if the brain does not accept where you want to reach in your goal, it'll never happen. Or the habits, you know, the word habit, like, how can we install this habit? And at the end of the day, we need more of that support system to give us the knowledge, the information, the mental support, the community, and all of that. What can we gain from your center? And if there is something, would like to hear about it. And if not, would love to collaborate with your center to provide that support systems. Like one of the group coachings I've run earlier on was for weight loss. And I have participants who've lost 16 kilos through this journey in a healthy range. Like I emphasize healthy range, which is 0.5 kilo to 1 kilo a week and not more. And
Exactly.
yeah, so putting that in mind, and I have people who were champions, but when the support system stopped, they went back. So how can we increase that? Thank you. Sorry, I had a long.
Thank you, Dr. Nada. Very, very great question. Definitely, what I can say from the experience working in this club is that the community plays a great role, and group classes, which either mixed or girls only, which I conduct, shows great improvement in participants' dedication, commitment, and consistency when they're in the group. So when some of the students came, so some of the clients, they came and they said, okay, I have this problem, I want to lose weight, or I want to tight up, or I want to do this and that. Everybody has different desires and different goals that they want to do in their health. What we do in our club, especially me, first thing that I'm saying, I'm always questioning my clients. So we have that introductory talk. So I want to know more about their lifestyle, what they do they have kids, is this the office type of job, what they did before, did they train alone or with a professional? So what is the background or of their fitness? According to that, we set certain goals and certain rules, and always for me, nutrition goes with an exercise. What I always advocate is that I don't advocate dieting. So diet is something which is short term, which is going to be a quick fix. You're going to do it, and after that you're going to go back. Same thing is going to we can apply for the exercise. You can do certain things, you can achieve, and then you're going to. So how to actually implement that mindset into our clients, into the people, into the group, in the wide population, how to encourage them to do. So what we do in the small community in our club is this. So I'm always saying you should build a lifestyle. So if you want now to be, let's say, 10 kgs lighter, you will probably want that in 10, 20 years, of course. So what we can do right now to change your lifestyle, that you feel comfortable, whatever you're doing in your life, with your job, with your family, with everything, to implement changes that will going to build and change this lifestyle towards your goal and your healthy lifestyle. What are those small steps? As I said, we always, like studies show that when we set the big goal, most likely we will not achieve it. So we always say, I always like to say, take baby steps. So first, small steps, what we can do. So today, what we can do, what kind of exercise, what we can improve. So if certain clients were having some injury or having restricted movements or something, we're going to slow build up the general fitness together with the improvement of that particular area that they needed, and build slowly. I'm always saying to the clients, listen, I'm not the kind of a coach that will say, okay, you're going to lift 20, 30 kgs after a month. I don't know. And you probably will not. So we will build slowly. The most important thing is that we build your strength in a healthy way, not with the stress on your joints, not with the stress for the injury, that we all together follow your nutrition. So I'm giving advices, following them, how they do. They always texting me. I always ask to send me the picture of their plates with a hand next to it. So sometimes the picture can deceive, so you don't know how the plate big it is. So I said, always put the hand next to it and send the picture of the time that you're eating. So I'm gonna see whether this is okay. So do you need more protein? which is always the problem that we lack the protein, enough protein in our diet for the certain goal that that person have. Same thing I'm doing with the group. We always have with the stretching. We have some talks that we're gonna actually remind us, as you said, on certain things. Let's see what we can do for this specific goal. And if you have this problem, what we can tackle. So always, sometimes someone is shy to ask. They don't want either to approach in the group, or sometimes they don't have time to approach to the coach. But I always open to the question in any time. I said text anytime. I will answer as soon as I see the message, and I'm available. And always saying that in general, sometimes, okay, something happened to me, so I'm gonna share my experiences or share from my background and some of my students that I work with, and always improving and build that sense of unity, that we always are around the same thing. And you probably know that we need 3 weeks to build some habit. And there is always a rule which is proven, whether it comes to the exercise or nutrition. After a month, it becomes a habit, and you build it in yourself. If you went for certain training regularly, that becomes a habit, and you become addicted to the exercise, to the movement. Same applies for the nutrition. Motivation from the person that is giving the course. I'm trying my best always to be up to date, always to be approachable, and always to give certain advices or share some experiences, whether it's mine, while I'm right now in the complete vegan challenge of the 6 weeks. So I want to experience on myself how this plant-based diet function, how I feel. So I share that with my clients. They become inspired, they connect. So trying to be a good role model. As you say, and doctor, from the first question, we need to build awareness. We need to broaden this story. We need to bind with the other people to bring this society to the healthier level, and to decrease all these risks of illnesses due to the bad nutrition, exercise, or the all COVID consequences that take. I hope I answered your question.
Dr. Neda, I just want to add something to what Coach Ivana said and you mentioned. For example, for me, my specialty is mathematics, and I've been doing karate for a long time in martial arts, right? But let's say if I have some very, very important event coming up, I do hire a personal trainer to get ready a few months before, right? And it's not so much because I don't know what's going on. I think I can set up a training program for myself, but I do it because I know if there's somebody who's always checking, for some reason, it's not that I'm, it's the person is, it's not like he's older than me or he's gonna punish me or something, but I do feel much more responsible because somebody's gonna hold me accountable, yeah? And I believe this is a very, very good strategy. This is one of the most important strategies I've seen. I've had the pleasure and the honor to meet with many, many very successful people, and I always find out that they have at least 1 or 2 coaches in different aspects of their lives, whether it's a life coach or a nutritionist or and many of them, like me myself, I've been doing this my entire life, but when I have something very serious and I need to get things done, I always do hire a coach. And I think even Dr. Neda and Coach Ivana can emphasize this point. I'm sure you've met many people who say, I want to do this, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. But it's very rarely that they do it. However, if they had somebody with them, most likely they are going to actually go ahead and succeed. So this is a very important point of having a mentor or just somebody who will hold you accountable to that, whatever plan whatever thing you're trying to pursue. Just the last thing, I want to just summarize my part of the talk, and I want to say, please invest in your kids. in some sport or activity, whether it's individual and be a role model, like Ivana said. You know, the best way to teach is to be. Yeah, you can tell them about the importance of exercise all day, all you want, but if you're not leading by example, the best coaches are the ones who do, right? You know, you can teach by just preaching, you can teach by doing, and you can teach by inspiring. I think I was very inspired by all the senseis I've had and the teachers, because they were performing and doing to a level where it was not just, it was inspirational for me too, you know? If somebody can come and talk to you all day and it, you know, goes from one ear and come out of the other. But, you know, if you live that way as a parent, trust me, your kids are going to follow sooner or later. Okay, so this is the final thing. Please invest in your child's sports aspect of the sport aspect of your kids' life. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ali. I will listen now to Mr. Simon Karam. Mr. Simon Karam, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm always privileged you give me the chance to talk. Thank you, Rehan. Thank you, Dr. Ali. Thank you, Madam Ivana. You have inspired and given us lots of positive things. I am in a very candid and harmless manner talk about negative things that I take from this talk. No harm, you know, just changing the angle, how to look at things. First of all, for me as a person, not my children or grandchildren, the talk comes too late. It comes late in age. I cannot go back and get my life organized since I was a child, but I can probably do that for my grandchildren. Even my children are big now. For nutrition, it comes late because I just had a very big dinner. And for the timing of the conversation, it comes late, it's 11 o'clock. So there you are, as a first observation. The second thing is, you know, when you talk about designing a diet, balanced diet, you have to be rich to do that. I mean, a poor man with an income cannot plan to buy a piece of meat, you know, or, but no, I'm just giving, you know, looking at things in a bit of a different manner. And thirdly, I think a very much regulated life leads to being bored. It kills the spontaneity of life. You know, you want to be a bad boy sometimes. Otherwise, you're not happy. If all the time I've got the Fitbit on the watch and I say, wow, it is now 2 seconds late, it puts stress and pressure. But having said all this, you know, I go back to the positive things that you have. A little comment on facilities. Of course, we accept that the facilities in Oman are not adequate for even walking, which is your best advice to us, is to do walking. You see, I live on Madinat Qaboos since 1976, and Madinat Qaboos was probably properly designed, and we had walkways, streets, you know, neighborhood. Still is a very lovely place to live in. But you try walking on the walkway. Wow! If you're not careful, you either hit a street lighting pole, or you know, you go. This is on the pathway itself, on the walkway. However, we are very fortunate to have the mountains close by. We don't make much use of them, you know, mountain trekking. We don't make much use of planting trees. We have so much treated water. Can you imagine in a country where water is scarce, the treated water is put in a pond for evaporation rather than planting trees, you know, like a boulevard. So we are not very adequate in that. And finally, no, not finally, one more remark and a question. And finally, had I known that you measure by hand, I would have asked for exercises to make the hand bigger. You know, I would have loved to have a bigger palm, longer fingers. We love food, it's a fact. Finally, a question to Dr. Ali. Yeah, because, well, I know that physical effort helped your math because they gave you a better body. Did the math help your physical effort? Thank you.
Simon, it was such a good, it was awesome. It was funny. It was informative. It was awesome. It was the best part of the talk, if you ask me.
Don't say that. I'll believe you.
Thank you. No, it's true. I just want to say something. It is very true. For example, I love sweets, right? And me and Ivana always have this talk, because when I take care of kids, it is a disaster. We go have ice cream, this, that. Just recently, one of my friends who's a jiu-jitsu world champion, we were just talking on the phone. He had a surgery, an ACL surgery. So he was looking at his blood test results. He's a little bit older than me. And he was telling me that the blood results, the recent blood results show that if he keeps his diet like this and no activity, he's going to be heading into getting diabetes, right? So I was telling him exactly what you told me. I was like, it's okay, I can get diabetes, but enjoy my life, I cannot just count every calorie. And here's something he told me, which I knew, he said, more discipline now gives you more freedom later. He said, you want to enjoy these sweets when you're in your 70s. You don't want to, right? So it is true. It is restrictive in some way, but really it's like, when you're on a budget, right? When you're spending your money, you're doing this. So later, maybe when you don't have a job, you have more freedom, right? You can spend more. So you look at it, it's discipline, yes, in some way, but it allows you to do what you want to do when you really want to do it, right? When it really matters. Awesome points. The mountains, awesome. I'm always either, here with my books or doing karate, all the time. So I don't get to the mountains, but this is good. Did karate help me with my math? Yes. Did my math help me with my karate? Honestly, I don't know. Yes, I'll tell you, sometimes I really had to take off sometime. Now I have an injury, for example, in my hamstring, and it's just, I go crazy. So what I do, I'll just open one of my books and I just read and do other areas of math and study and read. And so it does help me, one of them takes the pressure of the other thing. Obviously too much of anything is not good, right? So even if I played karate professionally for some years, it obviously has very negative effects on your body, right? So it is back and forth, right? So when I exhaust myself mentally, I do the physical thing. When I cannot exhaust it more physically, I do the mental thing. So in some sense, it definitely helped. And it is not very different, right? People maybe, now I'm going to be preaching mathematics, but people always look at mathematics as a very rigid thing. No, it's a very creative thing. Similar with exercises. Yeah, maybe now this is where I'm going to lose most of the listeners. They're not going to buy this.
No, but I'm sure that math helps you get disciplined, because math is, by definition, it is discipline.
Yes, you have to sit down and focus, right? So you have this aspect of, what do they call it? Being present in the moment, mindfulness, right? This Zen thing, right? Yeah. Ivana, you want to answer the question about the diet and the budget and all of this stuff?
Let me invite her for dinner first.
Yes, I'm very sorry that I need to disappoint you that there is no exercise to improve the hand size, unfortunately. So what we are given for that we need to use. And for the second thing, yes, you're right. There is still that community needs to do, and the society and the government to build more of the pedestrian zones that we can enjoy more. But in the meanwhile, we should go outside and try to, unfortunately, let's take the car to the area that we can go and walk and then sit in the car in 5 minutes and come back. Unfortunately, we are obliged to do that. And regarding this strictly controlled life, so everything is in the balance. So you remember the top of the pyramid, there was the ice cream and the chocolate and everything at the top. So we are all humans, and far from that we are all strict, and me and myself as well, which I'm really trying to be healthy and teach my kids to be healthy first here in my family, and then later on in the broader of my environment. Definitely, we all need to relax a little bit, and having an ice cream once a week, it's not a big deal if you're all these 6 days were good. Having one day something that you like, that is not that healthy, that is something that you're having once a week, it's completely fine. And we should not be in the way that we are actually stressed about the food. That food should be comfort, but the healthy food should be our comfort. So not the food which is the bad one. So like Ali said, invest now to enjoy it later. So that is actually what we need to teach our kids, and also play by these rules. And God forbid that we need to be straight all day. One day having a chocolate something is good as well for the mental health as well.
Thank you. If I may, I would like just a short recognition that it's all not negative in terms of facilities. There has been, municipality has done various things that are excellent. Imagine that innovative idea of changing the wadi into a garden in Azaiba. It is a fantastic idea. Another idea, a project which is going on now, and a municipality are now building around Wadi al-Kabir a loop whereby there will be, I've seen 1 kilometer of it as a sample, but it will be a loop for bicycles, for pedestrian, rest benches. So it is happening, a bit slow, but it is happening. Thank you.
I will just say that I'm quite happy because I'm master's degree in the biology and environmental protection, and this is the other part of my passion. So I'm quite happy seeing these things in the city, having more green areas, having more improvement in this way that we also can use for the improving the healthy lifestyle. That is actually something which I'm really, really proud of.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Mr. Haji Adam, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ali and Ivana. It's truly a very impressive and interesting talk for us. As Mr. Simon mentioned, you know, we keep getting different speakers, and this one is a unique one, actually. Every time we come here, Majlis Al Khonji comes with a unique speakers. I have a comment for Dr. Ali. I think you don't wait. You have to go to the schools. You know, if you wait for Ministry of Education or the kids to come to you, maybe, you know, it might not happen at the speed that you maybe want. But I feel, you know, if you take your program to the schools and introduce it there in a basic way, I think you will be doing a lot of good things. Sport in our education system doesn't exist, and maybe very few people believe in it, to be honest. Our schools are designed in such a way that, you know, they are not designed, even including our universities, to be honest. We don't see anything coming out from them. So I think, you know, if you go there, you will do them a lot of good things. Cycling and walking along the roadsides, and I used to cycle quite a lot, and I was knocked down twice. People in Oman here drivers have no respect for cyclists, and it's a culture to be taught here. People have to be educated. I was knocked down twice. Luckily, I didn't get hurt, and this was in Kurum area and Shati al Kurum. This was long back, you know, maybe 10, 15 years ago, to be honest. Now it's worse than before. So sometimes I see people are cycling. I really, you know, I feel they should be extremely careful. Talking about nutrition and diets, here in Oman, we have very high diabetes 2 and insulin resistance cases in Oman here. And I think maybe one of the reasons is our diet and lifestyle. And we move with cars to our office, to supermarkets. We take our kids, and we don't like to walk. So that's one of the problems. You mentioned, Dr. Ivana, that you see a lot of people, maybe, and Dr. Ali said, I think, or somebody else said that walking along the beach, a lot of people are walking. This has started last year, actually, in March, when COVID started. And the word got round, you know, if you walk, it's good for you. It will protect you from COVID. So people started walking. And when the government, you know, relaxed the restrictions, half of them disappeared. And So I think, you know, they are there for a purpose, and not because they want to be there and, you know, to change their lifestyle. Because somebody told them maybe if you walk, the virus will not, even if you get it, it will not hit you very hard. I just want to mention something very interesting happened to my wife last September. She's a diabetic patient, and she started getting complications. And she's taking insulin. She was not able to control her sugar, despite that she was well disciplined and what she was eating, but it was not getting controlled. And she started having some complications in her eyes. And the next thing the doctor said, you know, we'll do lasers and we'll do this and that. So then I went to Mr. Google, and we Googled around and tried to find out what can be done to save my wife's life and eyes. And the first thing I realized that the biggest two culprits that we Omanis are consuming here without realizing, wheat and rice. And then I bought a book called Wheat Belly. And that book actually opened my eyes. And I was able, my wife's sugar was around 18 and 20. And the best she was getting was 16. By changing her diet, I was able, in like 3 weeks, first of all, to get rid of her, you know, a lot of symptoms that she was suffering from diabetes, like, you know, at nights, not sleeping and suffering from pains in her legs and foot. Just less than 3 weeks, by changing the diet, you know, she was having fantastic sleep at night. Thanks to the wheat belly book, and we changed, we removed rice and anything made of wheat. We removed it from our table. But like you said, then we had a Friday when our grandchildren comes, we have a feast and we go for ice cream and we go for sweet, but that's the only day that we enjoy ourselves. And I was also diagnosed 15 years ago as diabetes 2, but I refused to take medicines. By controlling my diet, until now, I'm still okay. I know it doesn't exceed the limit. So this is the problem we have, I think. You know, people like you, experts in nutrition, I think have a big role to play in Oman here. Now, how can we get rid of rice and wheat from our tables is another thing. Thank you very much.
Ivana, I just want to clarify, I'm not an expert I'm not a dietitian. I'm the worst person who's going to talk. I do mathematics and sports. When I know nothing about diet. Mr. Haj Adam, you know, I just want to, first of all, it's very inspirational what you said actually about, you know, how you were able to counter all these complications that were happening. It's very encouraging, right? It's very, very encouraging. And I hope people, I mean, you don't need to be a dietitian to know that we are what we eat, right? Essentially, all the food we consume, it becomes the cells. Actually, there are many programs and karate programs in schools, like you mentioned. For example, my club is handling a Sahwa school, for example. We get called by these private schools. Now, to go to the public schools, this is not an easy task. I mean, it's not so easy, but you know what? It is worth it. So this is definitely something I will be looking at. And just as a community service, we should do it, you know, like maybe even if it's once a week. And we are thinking, actually, me and some of the coaches in the club, to provide like an online weekly session for free for all the kids in Oman. They can join, they can enter, and this is one of the things. But something sustainable when everything goes back to normal will be a great, great idea. I completely agree with you. I will give the rest of the question to answer when it comes to diet to Coach Ivana. Thanks for sharing with us, Hajim Ahmed. Thank you.
Thank you. Just before you hand me over to Ivana, I've mentioned this before several times. You know, I'm a heart patient, and I have 7 stents planted in me. And I was a good case for a bypass. I refused to do it. And then I did something, a small program in India 7 years ago. Until today, I have maintained my life. They taught me how to manage my problem, not to cure it, but to manage it. And it's by my nutrition, controlled nutrition, and walking. Minimum 30 minutes. Every morning I walk between 40 to 45 minutes, at least five days a week. And I have been able to live my life and live a quality life, actually, by just applying what I was taught through that small program in India. So exercise, does help, does work.
Haj Ahmed, I have a question for you. Do you feel like your lifestyle is so restricted and overwhelming, or is it just becoming the norm now and you're used to it and you're actually bothered when you get out of this routine?
Yeah, for me, it's quite normal now. First of all, I'm 66 years old, and I don't think I want to run now, and I don't want to climb the mountains fast. Although I did some climbing, actually. I happened to go to Iran, and I ascended almost 500 meters, 2 kilometers, quite safely. And I went slowly, but surely. I reached the peak, enjoyed myself, and came down very fast. And they showed me how to handle myself. But no, I don't feel any restrictions. I enjoy my life. I do my shoppings. I go to the market. I go to the Mawalih market and I carry my boxes and my apples, my carrots. And when I come back from Lulu, I always have a sack of rice, 24, 26 kilos. Or 28 kilos, I carry it from my car to my kitchen. So I'm not doing it because I'm trying to save money, but I enjoy doing it. So yes, I think I'm not restricted. I don't feel restricted.
Riham, I think we have somebody who's a very good candidate for the next talk here, who can share many beneficial things with all of us. Yes, Ivana, you want to go ahead and finish answering?
Yes, just a brief.
Insulin resistance, Ivana, please. Insulin resistance. How can we beat it?
Thank you, Haji Adam, for sharing your experience for your wife and yours. Listening this kind of experience actually really inspire us and to question ourselves where we are, where we've been, and where we can be, and what we can do and how to improve our health. And as you say, now I'm quite comfortable with this. So everything comes with the changing slowly to improve yourself, and now you're very comfortable. I'm also not eating any wheat. I'm gluten intolerant, which I find out 2 years ago, where I found on myself is a quite stressed situation. And I found that I'm always sleepy, always tired. I'm waking up like someone was beating me the whole night and handling the 3 kids and the house in that time without the housekeeper, and going to the club and doing the work. So it was quite stressful. Then our body is dynamic system, and something which is right now doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be same in let's say 1 year or 5 years, or even for the last time period. How much we do now and what we do now, we build actually and change the way how life will be and our body. And I can say, related to the few questions before, it's never late to change. So it's never late to start. On certain ages, we are not going to run like after 40. You're not going to do as much cardio as you did with 20. You're going to do a little bit of the resistance training with the weight to increase the bone density and prevent yourself from the breaking bones and live longer and doing certain things. Regarding the insulin resistance and the customs and tradition and how the cuisine actually was quite different when I experienced here in Oman. And comparing to the food that I was eating before, I was also quite a few times finding the way that I'm teaching my some of my clients to reduce exactly wheat, rice, all this stuff. I said, like, I know that this is the part of your tradition and what food should eat, but how much you are going to put now following the tradition and your health. So let's find some nice balance that both can be satisfied, and we can have your improvement in weight loss or certain things. Regarding the insulin resistance, we heard that a lot. There are a few of my examples of my clients that are proven that are quite effective, and also other studies show that. We actually involve ourselves, our bodies, a lot in the digestion, a lot to be busy with the digestion, not to maintaining and doing the other things in our body. So putting ourselves in the fasting mode, which should be normal thing. So having the 8 hours window of eating is perfectly normal thing. I'm now talking about the people over 40. So I'm not talking about the kids, especially if the kids are having different kind of problem, that's the different topic. So a few doctors will support me. So I'm talking now about the adults. So experienced with myself and with a few clients, involving yourself in the last, not now in Ramadan timings, but let's say your last meal is your last food is a dinner, let's say 7 o'clock in the evening, which will be the best option. After that, you are going to spend 3 to 4 hours before you go to bed. If you want to go to bed earlier, you're going to eat earlier. You don't want to have your body be busy with the digestion when you're sleeping, should flush out the brain from the bad things that are happening during the day, maintaining the blood cells and maintaining, the cells in our body, clearing up the blood and everything what is actually happening during while we are sleeping and we don't have food in our stomach. The next meal, when we actually break fast, so the breakfast, so the first meal should be ideally to be and prevented the insulin resistance is after 16 hours. Let's see, minimum is 12. This is bare minimum. From that, you will build up slowly. Maybe it will gonna take you 2 months, 3 months to reach that, but you're gonna start slowly adjust your body. And as we mentioned a few times tonight, that the habits are built in a slow way that we actually, so now how you say, I'm quite comfortable with this, I'm also quite comfortable not eating anything from the wheat, and this is part of my life. Trying to reduce all sugary stuff, which actually I'm going to exclude all the sugars, refined sugars, sweets, ice creams, just to have that one day that we can have it and have that quality fibrous, full of minerals and vitamins, carbohydrates, which are a lot of vegetables and fruits. So I found myself a few times that teaching the people involve a lot of vegetables in their diets. Here is, I found myself that the diet is mostly starchy carbohydrates and the meat, and there is no veggies. So half of your plate should be green and always be having that part. So as you said, that we also teach our kids. Sometimes our kids doesn't want to eat something which they don't like how it looks like. So we need to mask making certain soups or something which we are going to mix and give them to drink is a soup which has broccoli, cauliflower, zucchinis, or other type of veggies that they are going to parsnip and other type of veggies which are quite healthy, and they are not going to see what this, but it's going to taste good. So I said, this is soup and you're going to like it, so you're going to drink it. The drink is okay. Don't judge the food by the looks, and building those habits with the kids as well. And yes, I will go back to the first thing. Raising awareness is the most and important role that we all need to play here.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, Khamis Mubarak, please, if you may add any comments or questions.
Thank you very much. Very interesting. Dr. Ali, first of all, I believe in exercise, sport. Most of my kids, they have their own CrossFit lab in the house. 2 of my boys have already their black belt karate. Most of my kids, they do snorkeling, swimming, and they are very good horse riding. We all implement that. Maybe, of course, more to learn about this in the future. Going back to Ivana, you know, our style of life in our region is our quality of life. So I go back to the comment from my friend, Mr. Simon, fixing people with 5 centimeters of beef, 2 centimeters of fish, 2 spoons of carbohydrate, this will not work. This is, for us, is completely regulations in our style of life. And if you call it healthy, it could be healthy. But you create a community who they have a lot of depression. Going. So I just want to ask.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you.
So I want just to ask Ivana again. Can you design something? It can match our style of life. You know, 3 days of Eid, of 4 days of Eid in Oman is nothing but meat festival. We have all kind of style of meat. So to tell people, no, you have to eat only 3 pieces of what we call mishkak, skewer, this is will not work. Then to tell people also not to eat rice and not to eat bread. And Omani original food is Omani bread. It is completely changing of the history of what so define quality of life in our region. Quality of life may be applied in textbook, as you said, in Europe, other places, but that doesn't match our serious or real life in the region, not Oman only. If you go to any houses and tell them, no, I want a small piece of meat and so on, they feel ashamed to not to bring you a full boat on the table. So maybe we would like to, you as specialists, maybe you'd like to advise us how to improve our style of life or our quality of life from our style of life, not to import something from outside and try to implement it in our culture. I think this will work for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and people will give up because they call it hospital food. So this is my suggestion. Thank you.
How can she help you if you're not prepared to give up mishkak?
Thank you, Khamis, for the question. Actually, yes, that is quite challenging. But I'm not saying and advocating that you're not going to eat wheat, that you're not going to eat rice, and you're stop eating meat. And good, it's the Eid is just a meat festival for the 3 days, not for longer. So you're going to enjoy these 3 days, but later on you're going to see. So I'm just going to a little bit point out. So current numbers show 50% of the obesity, 30% of the diabetes, more than 50% of the cardiovascular diseases. So that is actually what we need to address and to change, keeping the traditional things. And I found myself quite surprised with the taste of certain vegetables that you actually have here. And I didn't have a chance to try, which is so super healthy. And you probably know, I will mention only one thing, which has a great importance. I listened to this doctor recently who's been talking about this plant, and I was like, oh my God, I was eating this and I didn't know this. So this is the bitter gourd. You know, this green cucumber look like ugly cucumber. So this bitter gourd, so bitter melon, is very absolutely amazing vegetable, which improves our stem cells, which improves our health so much. Like none of these vegetables that we know here. That is the part of the diet. That is the part of the cuisine here. I'm not saying that you're going to reduce from the 10 mishkaks to 3, but when you actually take all of this, they're actually going to fit in your 2 pounds. So don't forget, men have 2, women has only 1. So this is slowly change, because we don't want obese society. We don't want problems. We want to go to the source and change certain habits with the tradition. I had the clients who are Omanis, and they say like, but I like to eat rice and I like to eat. I was like, okay, can you just reduce how much is the rice on your plate? Like half of the plate. And do you eat all? No. So don't put the whole thing on your plate. So be real, how much you can eat, put that on the plate. Sometimes we are eating from the big plates, which are actually, we don't know how much we ate. So always choose your food on your plate. And when you try, I'm just giving you a challenge, and I would really like to know how it goes, that in the next week, when you are sitting, you're putting exactly that much amount on your plate. You finish the meal and see how you feel. Are you satisfied or are you still hungry? So give yourself a one week challenge and see how you feel. Maybe on the eyes, you're going to see it and say, oh my God, this is so little, I'm going to be hungry. But when you finish the food and the signal comes from your stomach to the brain and it says, okay, it's fine. So always it's better to wait for 10 minutes and say, I'm still hungry or no? No, sometimes we're just eating from the habit, not from the real hunger. Slowly, gradually, and with all things that we like, but in moderate and balanced ways. That's the ideal way. So not be completely sterile just to have certain things. No, we should enjoy the food, implementing in the lifestyle with having, with the knowledge of, that's a different topic of health food, what we should eat for what things to improve our health. That's like big topic, and having optimum health and achieve weight loss or weight gain or whatever we want, and be healthy and having a healthy society. That's actually the main idea.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
If I may say something, you have to choose between for our age, for example, 60 plus or 50 plus. You have to choose. If you are prepared to lose your foot amputated, you lose your vision, and then you don't sleep at night, only maybe 2 hours, 3 hours, then you continue with your lifestyle. But if you want to fix it, then you have no other choice except to do what you are told to do. I mean, this is the fact. In my case, when I did it, I saved my wife's sight, and I brought her sugar from 20 to 6. Well controlled. She's still on insulin, but very well controlled. And when I fixed her diabetes, the eyes got fixed by itself. I mean, with little help from the doctors. So it's a choice. You have to make. You have to decide for yourself. By the way, mishkak doesn't raise your insulin, so you can have as much mishkak as possible.
This is the important things, mishkak.
Thank you.
Exactly. Yes, I would just say that exactly you're going to choose what you actually want, and it's better to choose right food than to go to the doctor and he will prescribe you some medications, and then at the end when you say like, listen, you now go to the surgery, you need to do this. So go back, fight in the beginning. So prevent, don't treat. So do the things in the beginning that will help you. And all that we are talking now, we should think about our kids and build the good, healthy habits in them right now, because there is a lot of obese kids, which we as a parents, we need to actually tackle and say, okay, so now I'm going to actually see what I'm going to give to my kid, what he's going to eat, how much I'm going to improve and invest in his health right now to teach him that later on he will have a good, healthy choices in food.
Thank you very much. I will take the last question, then we will end our session today. Mr. Khalil Al-Blushi, would you like to add any comment?
Yes, good evening. Thank you very much for the interesting talk. My comment is on the habits that we have in Oman. So we concentrate on the habit of food that we cannot change it, and we eat meat and all that. But we forget that the habits are also other things. Our physical moving and all that has changed. It wasn't like this 40, 50 years, 60 years ago. We sit in front of the TV more. So if we continue with the food, but changing other habits, which the physical is less than before, we have cars and all that, so it doesn't match. So if you change the sitting in front of the TV, then it should be accompanied also with the less food and all that. So that is one thing that we have to combine all of. My point is to be conscious of what you're doing. For example, probably 90% of the kids in Oman, they do some sort of sport, especially football. They are in front of the houses, they are playing, in the fields they are playing, but they are not doing it because of health. They're doing it because they want to play. It's only the elderly who actually take the car and go to the beach to walk for the health, not because they enjoy the sport. So the kids they're okay, they're doing it by themselves. They're very, very small percentage probably of the kids that they are obese and all that. Maybe it is increasing nowadays with all the PlayStation instead of the actual physical movements. But normally it was like this. I mean, they go out, they run around, they play. Before Corona, the beaches, you could not walk because of football players. It was full. Kilometers and kilometers people were playing. So probably is to be conscious of what you are doing and for what you are doing it. It is one of the things probably I read it a long time back is the psychological effect. You need to tell people what you want. So if you share your goal, you will be kind of obliged and you work for it. If you say, okay, my aim is in 3 months, I lose, I don't know, 5 kg. If you tell your friends around, then they probably, that peer pressure kind of thing comes, yeah? If they ask you every 2 weeks, so how's it going? So I didn't do anything this week. I told others what is my target, I'm not meeting it. So sometimes it is good to tell people what is your aim, so you kind of be pressured to reach or to work towards that one. That's it. Thanks very much.
I just want to make a small comment on what Mr. Khalil said. There's a story I always tell my students, the ones who compete, a lot. And when you're at a very high level, and a lot of you guys, I can see, many of you are very well educated and probably hold very important positions. When you're at a very high level, improvement becomes harder, right? For example, if I'm starting at any domain, it is very easy to improve at the beginning. As I start improving, I'm starting to plateau more, right? So if I'm in the top 90th percentile of something, it is very hard to improve then, right? So there's a story that I always tell people, which is very related to what Mr. Khalil is saying here. English cycling team was called the Sky Team, and they were so bad that in 100 years, they've won only 1 gold medal. This is before the Olympics were held in London, This story is in a book called Atomic Habit by James Clear. So they wanted to change this whole thing right before the Olympics few years. They hired a gentleman by the name of David Bracefield, right? And David Bracefield, he made some improvement on, he had this strategy of called it's aggregate accumulation of improvements, right? So his strategy was the following. He improved the training, the weight training, the cardiovascular training, and then he hooked up some monitors like to sensor heart rate and all of this to see where the athletes are. And then he started doing some unusual things. He brought some surgeons to teach the athletes how to wash their hands. This was a long time ago, before COVID. So because he said if they know how to wash their hands, that means they will be more healthy, less sick, so they have more training days. He started experimenting with different massage gels, right? Which one gives the athlete better recovery? He started testing when he became the manager of the team, which athlete sleeps on a better pillow, right? And his idea was the following: if you just try to improve just in one domain, your athletic training and all this, you can only improve that much, right? But if you look at the best team and the 10th team, the difference is just like in percentages in seconds, right? So if I'm going to improve 1% in different aspects of the team, the way they rest, the way they recover, their immune system, and all of this. And within few years, they won, I think they won the Tour de France in the next 5 years, 4 times. They won 40% of the medals in the Beijing Olympics and 70% of the medals in the London Olympics, you know, within few years. Why? You know, you don't focus on one thing. And this is exactly what Mr. Khalil is saying, you know, you do not focus just on your food and a whole general lifestyle. You know, you enter a room, right? A living room, any living room in the world, not just in Oman. Where are all the chairs facing? They're facing the TV. So what is this environment telling you? Come sit down and watch TV, right? Now, just very basic things, right? You have all this, what do you call it? Comfort food right in the living room, right? I go, when I stay with my parents, all the stuff that is so unhealthy is right in the middle of the living room. Every time I go without feeling it, I take a piece of chocolate. I have some halwa. I have some chips. I have, without feeling it, right? Now, how many calories have I packed just because of the environment? I do a very simple experiment. There is something that you don't want to eat, just stash it away in the cabinet. You know where it is, right? After you watch the TV, take the remote control, stash it somewhere, or unplug the TV. Just unplug it and put the cable somewhere. Not even far, you know where it is, right? Guess what? You're gonna watch. So what Khalil said is super important, right? You have to design your environment to encourage easier habits. Yeah. I just want to say something that James Clear said in the book. He said, I have never seen anybody who sticks consistently to good habits in a bad environment. This is very hard because, you know, we have limited resistance. At the beginning of the day, we can do it. But after we make it, most of you are businessmen, I assume. After so many decisions during the day, you are depleted, you know, you cannot make any more good decisions. You give up, you go home, you watch TV, you binge on. So try to design your environment in a way to help. And one of the best, one of the strategies Mr. Khalil mentioned is mentioning your goals to other people, you know, this accountability issue. So extremely good points here. I cannot stress these points better than probably Mr. Khalil did, but please keep these things in your mind and set up yourself for success, right? Set yourself up for success. So this is, I guess, what Mr. Khalil was saying in a nutshell. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other question before we close our session today? Thank you very much. Guests, we have reached to the end of our session. Thank you, Coach Ali and Coach Ivana, for the informative session. And thank you, our guests, for the active participation. We see you on Saturday, 9:30 p.m. Oman time with Mr. Rio and his very interesting presentation with the subject of Leonardo da Vinci in Oman, renewed renaissance and national competition. Until we see you Saturday, inshallah, stay safe and good night. Thank you very much.
Good night. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good night.